What's the wildest cheating story you've witnessed or happened to you? Story 1. Started dating my first girlfriend during my senior year of high school. When we both graduated, we went to different universities within the same state. So we would travel back and forth to see each other during this long-term relationship. Towards the end of the first semester, I visited and never left her room. Utilized a whole box of condoms and felt like, this is college. College is great. After I return to my dorm, I don't hear from her for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, she tells me she is pregnant and wants to get an abortion. As someone who is pro-choice, I offer to pay for a large portion of the procedure and send her money. From there on out, I never hear from her again. I sent her messages to see how she was doing, check up on recovery, offer to drive up to see her, and just make sure she's alright. No response. I decide to call her roommate to make sure everything is okay, and the response I get is, "OP, she broke up with you 2 months ago. Stop trying to reach out to her, or she will call the police. You're harassing her, and she's scared." I offer to send screenshots of our messages regarding the pregnancy less than 2 weeks ago. I show her the bus ticket for my trip up to their dorm, and I told her that I've never heard of this breakup. Her roommate goes, "I'll call you in 30 minutes. We need to talk." So I get a call 30 minutes later, and the roommate explains that 3 months ago, my now ex-girlfriend met a guy in marching band. They really hit it off, and she dated both of us for a month before telling everyone that we had broken up. This guy proposed to her, and she said, yes, about a month and a half into their relationship. My ex had mentioned that her friends were excited for the wedding, and one of them graciously donated money for the wedding. My money. The money I sent my ex for the abortion was used to fund her wedding to the guy she had been seeing behind my back for 3 months. Story 2. I just graduated high school and left for the Army, and my GF went to college. Between basic training and AIT, I was gone for just shy of a year. The entire time I was sending my GF money to be able to go out and enjoy herself. Her parents were really poor and she didn't have much income. Every weekend she would go out and party with her friends, as most college kids would do. This went on for a year after I got back. On the weekends she'd spend the night Friday, all day Saturday, and then go out Saturday night and stay with her friend. I drove her to her friend's house multiple times and even buy them bottles of alcohol. Her friend would come out of the house, say hi to me, then I'd drive off. Turns out the house I was taking her to was a guy she'd be fucking for the last year I was in training. They both used me and my money to party their asses off and fuck each other for the last year. And her friend was actually the dude's sister and encouraged her to cheat on me. So basically I gave her $8,000 in 11 months while she used my money, my gas, and my car to go fuck another dude, and in some twisted sick way she got joy out of using me to literally drive her to his house and use my money. She tried crawling back a few months later after the dude cheated on her. I laughed and told her to go fuck herself. Story 3. My ex-fiancée went to a New Year's party while I was napping. She partnered up with the best friend of her best friend's husband playing cornhole, and he proceeded to grab her ass all night. When I got to the party, no one said anything to me, but there was a girl there that had an odd look on her face when my ex introduced me as her fiancée. 2 days later I went on a fishing trip and she went to his house and fucked him. When I got back we both came down with COVID. On the 3rd day of quarantining, her best friend called her and told her she had to tell me or she was going to send me an anonymous letter telling me. So she told me. The same best friend that encouraged the ass grabbing at the party, the same best friend that went drinking and allowed my ex to drive drunk to f her husband's sober best friend. The same trashy ex I never liked and tried to get my ex away from. After the cheating, I stupidly tried to make it work. I gave her an ultimatum: either cut ties with the best friend or I'm gone. She refused. Our couple's therapist said she shouldn't have to. We only lasted like 2 more months when a guy she fucked while we were split up a few years earlier texted her while he was conveniently at a bar across the street from us. After all this she got on FB and said, "I never cheated on him, you can literally ask my best friend," and that piece of trash commented agreeing. Story 4. High school sweetheart and I went off to college, different schools. While I was visiting I was walking around the house to the front door. Window was open and I overhear her talking to another high school guy friend of mine that is in college with her about how she doesn't know how to tell me she cheated. He caught her with a friend of his and was forcing her to fess up before he did. So that broke us up, needless to say. She begged me to forgive her. About 3 months later I relented and had her visit me at my college. We went out that night. Food, drinks, and finally a house party. Before we were about to leave I went up to a friend's room to grab a bag of cannabis from him. 15 minutes later I come down, go out to the porch, look to the left, and there she is making out with some random guy we hadn't even met before. She literally met him 2 minutes after I went upstairs. She cried all night. I was crying laughing that she had so little self-control. I ended up having her sleep on the couch and she went home before I woke up. Haven't spoken since. That was about 20 years ago. Story 5. Many years ago I was married to a complete psychopath. He was off from before we even said I do, but I thought I could change him. My bad. Anyway, we had a small get-together one night, and we had the best house for that: pool, hot tub, sauna, pool table. I went to bed when I was done for the night and woke up a few hours later. Husband isn't in bed. He had a tendency for drunken fights, taking off, starting fires, that kind of thing. So I went looking for him. I walked around outside and then back into the house. I couldn't find him anywhere. I went down to the basement and through the laundry room to the sauna, and when I opened the door this behemoth of a man is standing completely naked, bent over the bench, spread-eagled, jerking it for all he's worth, and without looking to see who it is he moans out, "Did you bring the butter, baby? Insert ex-husband's name. It worked so much better last time." I actually stood there wide-eyed and jaw dropped for easily 20 seconds trying to register all of this. My ex-husband comes barreling through, butter dish in hand, and stops dead and says, "Oh, it's you." Yup. It was me, lol. Story 6. Bought a fixer-upper house with a boyfriend when I was in nursing school at 19, he was 23. We were working on it, and had just begun buying furniture in anticipation of moving in. I randomly found a lump in my breast, and the day before I had surgery to remove it he randomly went to a lake a couple hours away to ride jet skis. My dad took me to my surgery and brought me home. Stupid me didn't dump the boyfriend. I took a break from him and the house. Pathology came back begging. We carried on like nothing happened. Then I found a love letter in our house while he was at work and I was building an IKEA desk for college. It was from the neighbor girl, who was 16. Turns out they were having an affair and sex when I was in classes/clinicals/work. It came out during the ensuing fight that he had been screwing Jo for several months and her family knew. He also admitted that when he was supposedly riding jet skis while I was having surgery, he was having sex with yet another girl. Quick claimed the house, took my furniture, and ditched him. He would up moving her in, got her pregnant, and they eventually got married. They had 3 girls together. He gave the first kid the name I had picked out for my eventual first child. The audacity. Well, turns out she eventually cheated on him and tried to pass her 3rd child off as his. No idea how he found out, but she filed for divorce. I only found out because during their divorce, they'd fought over the house and she somehow got it. Turned out he never filed paperwork with the county or whoever with our quitclaim, and it was still solely in he and I's names. So he reached out to me after like a decade wanting me to sign another quitclaim. I looked up the property records. Yup, I'm one of the owners on paper, and they were several years delinquent in property taxes. So she contacted me and was a lot nicer than he was. In my pettiness, I told him I wasn't signing a quitclaim until the property taxes were caught up to current, and if I had to take a day off work, hospital RN, he was paying my wages for the day. No idea how he paid it, but he did. He was furious. I signed off and went merrily on my way. She thought that was the greatest thing ever and was happy not to be saddled with the back taxes. They got divorced. She didn't stay with her third kid's dad. Not 2 years later, I'm at work, labor and delivery, and getting patient report when I came on shift. Was told one patient of my assignment requested me. No big deal, hope sometimes when we see them previously for triage or antepartum reasons. It was the formerly underage neighbor girl turned wife turned ex-wife. I laughed so hard I cried. Wound up having her all shift and assisting with the birth of her fourth child with baby daddy number 3. It was a lovely labor, a wonderful delivery, and to date I haven't heard from either of them since. And no, I didn't tell her that her first child's name was one I picked out, and then he stole it from me. Story 7. Setting, gas station / subway located rural, Florida. Characters, Amy, 16F. Chris, 20M, Amy's fiancé. David, 22M, Amy's brother. Meg, 45F, Amy's mother. Bob, 50M, Amy's dad. And me, 19M, Amy's boss. All of us employees at either the subway or the gas station of which my parents owned. One weekend morning, I had opening shift with Amy and David, with Amy opening the subway and David is handling the gas side while I handle inventory of cash, gas, beer and cigs. Amy is crying and David ain't talking at all. We open and handle the breakfast crowd while Amy hides in the back just sobbing. It's none of my business, it's Florida, and this isn't unheard of behavior for 16-year-olds, so I just push through annoyed. But by 10:30 the help is scheduled to arrive, Chris, fiancé. Chris makes Amy happy so it will get better, I thought. Nope. Chris walks in and Amy starts spit crying. I ask Chris what's her problem. He shrugs. David just plugs away at the register like everything is invisible. Eventually Chris and Amy get into a whisper argument in the back. You know where they try to whisper and all you hear are angry curse words and bits and pieces. You f***ed. I can't believe you, my mom. She's old. Why? Quick look at schedule and yep. Meg, aka Mom, is the one coming in at 2 p.m. to relieve me. Jesus Christ, Chris. Come help me and leave her alone. Between customers, Chris tells me about how he got busted and brags about having hooked up with both daughter and mom at different times on same nights. Nothing he was telling me was at all appealing. Let's describe Meg. The only thing slim about her was the Virginia Slim she smoked. She was poxmarked and perpetually sunburned. She was just gross. But hey, Chris didn't mind that. He caught me up on the story. Apparently, Chris had moved in with Amy's family after the engagement. Mom had made a move on him while Amy was at work months before. The night before this awkward day, Chris had snuck out of Amy's room while she slept and fucked Meg on the couch. David caught them. Told Amy and an older sibling that wasn't there. Bob, another employee, had worked closing at the gas station and hadn't come home. So 2 p.m. hits and Meg arrives in a car driven by Bob. She gets out of the car, comes in, acting like it was a normal day. Amy continues to cry. David is finishing up his shift, never once looking over. And Bob drives off. I'm relieved. I count out the register and prepare to leave when Bob comes through to the door ready for blood. Chris grabs one of those tiny bread knives and holds it up in defense. Amy is shouting for her dad to not kill Chris. Meg is telling Bob to calm down. Chris calls Bob a limp dick. Amy calls her mom a whore. Bob calls Meg a bitch whore. Food starts flying. Chairs start flying. Bread trays start flying. It's a madhouse. And David just doesn't look up. We close the place down, cops come, everyone is fired. And I get to explain to my parents what happened.